We have good news on indefinite leave to remain. If you know anyone that lives in the UK who doesn't have British passport, kindly ensure that they see this update, and it is huge. 24 hours ago, there was by-election in Manchester, and that election, Labour came third in their heartland, and people have already started pointing accusing figures and reason for losing the election. One person is being blamed for the election defeat. I know you might be wondering, what has election got to do with indefinite leave to remain? Hang fire. By the time you finish this video, you'll be very happy with the good news that we have for you. Now, a lot of experts are shocked because Labour had 13,000 majority and they lost that 13,000 majority. Let us hear from the expert on possible reason why the Labour Party lost the election.
The question of why is already being raised in Labour circles, and I'm getting some pretty heavy briefing about the reason for the defeat. And the blame already from inside Labour is being put at the door of Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, and her hardline immigration rhetoric in the view of some people who took part in that campaign. I am told that the policy of doubling the length of time you have to be here before you get your path to British citizenship, doubling the length of time before you get indefinite leave to remain, quote, came up in Galton a lot. The hardline rhetoric, and I'm quoting somebody who's been in this seat a lot over the last few weeks, the hardline rhetoric on how long existing people need to stay has been a big problem.
As you can see, most of the experts blame Shabana Mahmood, her immigration policy, for the Labour's defeat. A lot of progressive on the left felt that the Labour Party has lost its soul by trying to sound like reform, and that is where they mobilized. Let us hear from some of the voters that voted in that election on why they voted the way they did.
A lot of Muslims who are religiously conservative actually just voted for a white working class woman and a party which is led by a very proud Jewish person who is also gay.
Yeah.
So all these stereotypes,
excellent observation.
Yeah, they don't matter much. And I think the other thing is that the Muslim community has been under siege by reform, by Matt Goodwin and others, because they've been talking about grooming gangs, and somehow it's as if sort of sexual abuse is somewhat a uniquely Muslim phenomena. And then you've seen Shabana Mahmood, who's a Pakistani, right? And she of Pakistani origin, and she has made changes to indefinite leave to remain, which make it very, very difficult for the community to sort of have people come over, or people who are here, their lives are being disrupted, threatened, and disproportionately. So it should be no surprise that this community made a very political decision of switching. They used to be 85% for Labour. They have been switching, and they've switched towards Greens and your party and other left-wing factions. And they made that switch even more explicit.
Even when you have very senior Pakistani or Muslim politicians, they've shown themselves to be very duplicitous. If you look at Shabana Mahmood, she's the Home Secretary, one of the 4 great offices of state, but she has been pushing for extending the indefinite leave to remain, which is tearing families apart, making things very difficult.
As you heard from the voters there, a lot of them were driven to the poll by issues of indefinite leave to remain and Gaza, and the MPs, they are watching what is going on, and it appears from what we are hearing, a decision that has been made. I will share the update with you shortly. But what we do know is that NHS bosses, they are warning. They say drop in overseas workers is a car crash for UK hospital and care home. That is what they said before this election. Now, our sources is telling us that except there is a change of heart in last minute, that the government is set to announce that those on the care workers visas are likely to be granted indefinite leave to remain after 5 years. But there is a but. They will not be able to claim benefit. We do not know how long they will have to wait before they get British citizenship. Our source is telling us that this is what the government is set to announce in a few weeks' time. Assuming we are correct and the government announced this policy, you're not lucky, you're not out of the wood yet, because we know that the conservative and the reform have said that they want to scrap indefinite leave to remain. So you may have indefinite leave to remain by next year. If the conservative or reform, as they said, if any of them or the two of them come first and second in the next election, they said they will scrap indefinite leave to remain. So your indefinite leave to remain, you might have it next year, but they will still end up scrapping it. So what can you do to prevent that from happening? We'll give you the update shortly. We also know that reform said they want to introduce ICE-style deportation center. Their target is to deport 850,000 migrants every year. We know with what is happening in the US, even American citizens have been deported from their own country. So don't think I already have my British passport, I'm immune. You never know. You might be a nurse coming back from work. One day, you end up seeing yourself in Timbuktu where you have no connection. Anything is happening. We know that the UK economy is currently struggling due to the fall in migrant. We know that universities in the UK, about 50% of the universities, according to the government data, is on the verge of declaring bankruptcy due to fall in international students. We also know that the overseas nurses entering the UK, according to the government data, has dropped by 93%, and care visa has collapsed completely. Hospital bosses have warned that the crisis is going to make it almost impossible to be able to meet the government waiting list target. We know that reform said that they are going to scrap the Equality Act. You might say, what has that got to do with me? That is the law that make it illegal as a black person for employers not to be able to discriminate against you, not just employer, even public body, not to be able to discriminate against you and your children because you're black, because you're a Muslim, because of your disability, because of that means that your employer cannot bully you at work because of your race, gender, and disability. It affects every aspect of your life. This is very important. If reform ends up scrapping this, it means that we'll return back to the 1970s, where they used to say, room to rent, no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. And the person is not breaking any law. Your landlord can say, I'm not going to rent to you because you're from Africa. They are not breaking the law. This is very important. This is why we can learn from the Asian community who have been so successful in organizing themselves. No wonder the mayor of London, the former prime minister, they are from Asian descent because they understand the election that took place in Manchester. If that election had taken place in a place where you have 35% African population like they have in Gorton and Denton, I am sure a lot of our people would have preferred to pick extra shift rather than mobilizing ourselves because we don't understand. I say this as somebody who is a member of a political party. We need to get involved. For the sake of our children, if we don't do so, they are not going to forgive us because what is at stake is very, very important. If you come from any Commonwealth country, Nigeria, India, Pakistan, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Jamaica, you do not need to be a British citizen to be able to vote in this country. As long as you live here legally, you can vote in general election, and by putting your name on the electoral register, it was a way for you to boost your credit. If you don't want to go to the poll, you can ask for postal votes where you fill your candidate that you want to vote for, you send it. This is very, very important. You may end up having indefinite leave to remain next year, and the Conservative or Reform wins the highest seat, and they say, you know what, we are scrapping indefinite leave to remain, and you'll be back to square one. Do not take this for granted. for the sake of your children. Let us hear the views of people online. This brother said, this result is a wake-up call for Labour. The Greens' breakthrough in Galton and Denton show the left flank is more vulnerable than Starmer anticipated. Many MPs already sense that the way forward is to project confidence in Labour's identity, something more substantial than statistics, a clearer vision of what the party stands for. This one said, blaming one minister rhetoric is a classic case of ignoring the bigger picture. Labour lost because voters feel unheard, ignored, and disconnected, not because someone spoke clearly about policy. This one said, Starmer should resign, but he is power-hungry despot. He will never resign. He will never relinquish power voluntarily. If his MP wants the chance of keeping their job, they will have to force him. Most MPs depend on this job. They are not rich people. They are people that if they lost their job, they will end up in a job center to sign up for the doors. This is why your vote counts. They do not want to lose your job. Do not take this for granted. Share this video with anyone that you know will benefit and encourage them to register to vote. We can learn from the Pakistanis and Indians. Your children will not forgive you if you take this for granted. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel.